Thank you, mate. That was great. I'm sure everybody took a lot out of that too. There was so much you went through there, from the chemicals in your brain to your own stories to the way to position yourself on your LinkedIn. There was a whole bunch of stuff you went through there, but I suppose all of it is underpinned by the power of storytelling. Correct? Now, we went to an event maybe 2 months ago now, and there was a person in the audience who was a barber. And this person asked a question and said, is there a place for everybody online? And is there a place for everybody to share their particular story? And you had a response to this person. What was that?
I can't remember.
Your response was, yes, the hairdresser.
Oh, hairdresser.
The hairdresser.
Yeah.
What was your response to that person?
When they said, should hairdressers post on LinkedIn? Yeah, well, look, I said that everybody on LinkedIn needs a haircut at some point, or most of us.
Yeah, and that's the point. Everybody's got a place. Whatever you do, whatever you are, you've all got a place and a position to tell your particular story. So,
Yeah.
I suppose, can you share a story of one of the interviews you went through? Because you've told one in the past.
Yeah.
Can you share just a snippet of that to everybody else?
Sure. So when I started interviewing entrepreneurs, like, I don't know, like I just thought, I'll just, message people on Instagram that are really famous and maybe they'll say yes. And then one did Dr. John DeMartini, and I was like so nervous. If you watch the video, I'm like, oh. So I just got in the habit of doing that. And like, it's so funny, Kerwin Ray, when he said yes to me to do an interview, right? He's like, yeah, right, mate. And then you scroll up and you just see message after message for like 2.5 years, me messaging going, what about now? What about now? Are you ready yet? Like, just assuming that he's going to say yes eventually, and added enough value to a point where he said, let me just ask. I asked, adding more value every time on every single social media channel. So Grant Cardone, right, comes to Australia, and there's a post that goes up by the CEO of Success Resources on LinkedIn saying, Grant Cardone's going to do 10 podcast interviews or something like that while he's in town. Send your submissions to this email address. I'm like, this is my chance. This is a big time. I'm going to interview Grant Cardone. Does anybody know who Grant Cardone is? Okay, cool. Yeah, he's a self-proclaimed, sales legend of the world. Flies around in a private jet. And... Anyway, so I sent my submission in and I'm waiting, and nothing comes back, so I'm like following up, and I'm tagging him in all my content, and tagging him in posts, like, didn't you see I interviewed Kerwin Ray, blah, blah, blah. No response, right? And so I'm thinking, I've got to think outside the box here. So I think about, and his wife has just started posting YouTube videos about building an empire. And I thought, I bet she hasn't got anyone else to interview her while she's here. So I sent her a message on Instagram and said, I heard you're coming to Australia. I'd love to interview you for my series. And her assistant wrote back to me and she goes, yeah, sure. That sounds good. You can interview her on this day in Sydney. I said, I'm not in Sydney that day. But if you can get me an interview with Grant Cardone, I'll be there. And so Elena's gone, just imagine, Elena's just gone, honey. And so I got the interview with Grant Cardone. But when they called me to tell me the date when I got it was the night before. I just literally just arrived home from the airport from Sydney, and they're like, "You can do it tomorrow." So I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, okay, I'll be there, no worries." 7 a.m. book a flight, get to the airport. Mr. Bibby, haven't you heard your flight's been cancelled? And so I queue up in this customer service line for. And I was not giving you a short version, but I'll wrap it up soon. And 2 hours later, I'm like, I need to be in Sydney for 2 p.m. for my interview with Grant Cardone. They're like, no chance, we've already filled the flights up. And I'm like, well, if there was a chance, how would we get to Sydney? And she said, well, I can get you to Adelaide. I said, what am I going to Adelaide for? And she said, well, there's a flight that leaves Adelaide 5 minutes after you land. We can't connect you because there's a legal connection. But if you land in Adelaide and you run to the gate, if you get there in time, you can go to Sydney. I said, okay, let's go. And so I did all of that, and then I ended up having to have a shower at the airport because I looked like shit. And I used my t-shirt to dry myself. And I finally get there, and the interview's not perfect, whatever, but I did it, And I walked out of there afterwards, no flight home or anything, I was just exhausted. And the videographer who I managed to hire on Airtasker last minute said, can I drop you somewhere? I said, just drop me at the nearest pub. So I have a beer, and then I ended up flying back that night. But that's the sort of shit I go through to interview people.
It's quite a story, and I suppose the message out of that is you've just got to be persistent. You've got to be persistent. You've got to be consistent, because otherwise, things just don't happen. And so with that, we'd love to take some questions. So does anybody have anything they'd like to ask? Any questions at all? Okay, let's start off here, and then I'll pass the mic to Gemma, and we'll get you to...
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
We'll repeat the question.
So, what are your thoughts on like the increasing skepticism of today's viewers? Like, I guess on what you consider cups on Gen Z and millennial, and I've seen online that while you can tell a story, there's so much fake stories around, and like you don't know what's. Sometimes there's so much drama, like especially on YouTube. There's just so much drama going on, you don't even know what's true anymore. Sometimes you don't even know what to believe anymore. So you're like, there's an increasing skepticism about stories. But I like stories, but then there's also like, I guess the flip side, and I just want to know your take on people's increasing skepticism.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting, but like the question was like, what is your take on the increasing skepticism about stories on social media because there's so much noise? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, like I guess that like people can put out fake stories.
Put out fake stories, yeah.
And like that increases people's like skepticism of like their belief in whether the story's true.
Yeah.
Because it's the authenticity that matters the most.
Authenticity is what matters most. Yeah. So look, what will happen is, in the long run, those marketers that are putting out fake stories and are not being authentic will just lose attention, and so they won't get to the top of the newsfeed. Like eventually, YouTube's different because it's a search engine. So you've got to be mindful what you're searching for. Social media is different. Social media is a cocktail party where you're like meeting people and socializing. It's not like that on YouTube. Like YouTube is a search engine, the second biggest search engine in the world. And so people who get to the top of that search engine at the moment can still manipulate the algorithm like I did 15 years ago. But that won't last. Like it won't last. So unless their content's really good, then they're not going to be at the top, because the way that YouTube works, it doesn't matter how many views you get on your video. A lot of people think that's like what matters, views and likes. It's not that. It's how many minutes people watch for. And so if they don't believe the story and they think it's fake and rubbish, they're not going to watch much of it, so it won't end up at the top of the newsfeed. Gradually, bit by bit, all these crap content creators will disappear, guaranteed. Authenticity is the most important thing. Shil fired me as a speaking client because they were uncoachable.
Yes.
The only reason I've got any traction on social media, I've got no technically, no speaking skills. Like I don't, stand the right way. I don't deliver things the right way. I don't use the right words. But I'm authentic, and I think people can tell, and that's why they follow me. I think that's why. I've got nothing else going on, so I think that's what it is.
We'll start when you're ready again.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks again, Nate, for another action-packed night, information-packed night. So all the things that you noted there to specifically build the story that you tell, in my mind I'm thinking, I kind of do that anyway, but I'm probably not doing it in the right way. So is there a way that we can get feedback from you on some of the content that we've provided?
Yeah. Do you have a short example that you could share with us?
Up here?
Of like the content or...
Oh, yes. So, as in you want to see the actual content itself?
Is it written content or visual? Or?
I've been doing a few videos recently of like some of the projects that we've worked on.
Okay, cool. What does the video say in the first 10 seconds?
I just want to take you through this project that we finished to show you some of the things that we've done, and people are asking me questions about why we did certain things, and I think what we do is pretty niche, and there's only us in Perth that really do it.
Who's your target audience?
So we're looking for investors that have existing investment properties that we can convert into room-by-room rentals.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what's going wrong. So you're talking about you want to show them through your project what you've done, right? Which they may be interested in, but you haven't identified the problem first. So the investors, what's going to be keeping them up at night?
Low rent.
Shit returns in the bank.
Vacancies.
Yeah, negative cash flow. I don't know. The family security, like all these things, right, that they care about is what's going to capture their attention. A lot of real estate investment companies or real estate agencies, they're great examples of what not to do, because they're like real estate agents. I'm not saying you're doing this, but real estate agencies are just like posting listing, Friday drinks, new staff member. It's all about them. But you just notice the real estate social media pages that do well, the ones that like sponsor the local footy team and like they're just posting about what's going on down the beach. It's not about property, but they're building relationships with people. You might even want to try posting about something that's not to do with your project.
Yeah. But we don't really have a call to action at the end of any of the videos either. It's just we show them through, we tell them what it costs to do the work, and then we show them the return for getting on that investment.
If it's remarkable content, you won't need a call to action. Like you just don't need one these days. And in fact, like it can detract like from the value you're providing, because you've just asked for something in return. You've noticed, like you come to these events, right? I used to at one point I was closing 90% of the room, and I did sales from stage in Melbourne. You notice you come to all my events in Perth now, and I do not sell from stage, because it does detract from the value I'm providing. No one walks away going, "Oh, yeah, you're trying to sell us," Even though most of the room buys, whatever. Like everyone, hopefully, would have a good experience.
Cool, thank you. Have you got any content you can show us now, like a quick video where you just nailed the storytelling? And
just follow me, mate. Like I'm naked every day.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, good on you. I've got a hashtag asknat. If anybody asks questions on social media on any platform and they use the hashtag asknat, I always answer the content, because I can provide the content publicly, so it helps more people than just one. They send me the message privately, it's just helping them, It's just about being a bit more thoughtful. One down the back.
I don't need the microphone, I am a microphone.
What's your name?
My name is Keith. I'm an American, so I come with this voice naturally. My interest is in changing the way we build houses here in Western Australia. We've known how to build passive solar houses for 50 years, and yet we're still not doing it. It's baffling to me why, when we have a better product, but almost no one's buying it. And so I'm trying to learn about marketing to learn how we can better sell a better product to people that no one wants to buy. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, it's exactly what we just went through. And people have got a confirmation bias to what worked in the past. It's the way we've always done it. It's the way that I made money. That's the way we're going to keep doing it until somebody tells me a convincing enough story that I change my worldview and what I believe. I mean, brands have done this. Dropbox did it. Apple did it. Spotify did it. It's possible. But you just start with one customer, right? One customer, does it a different way. You tell their story, share it with everyone else, and that's how ideas spread. It's the only way they spread. Storytelling is the most effective way to get ideas out into the world. If you tell a good story, you don't even need marketing. Like, people will tell each other if it's a good enough story. It has to be really good.
Cool, thanks. Do more of what we're doing.
You got it.
Ideas worth spreading, right?
Sorry?
Ideas worth spreading.
Yeah, exactly. So this is Shil's a TEDx coach. I don't know if you all know what Shil does, but he's a TEDx speaking coach, which their motto is ideas worth spreading. So Shil knows a lot about storytelling.
It's all about ideas worth spreading, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Oh, this will be good.
What do you mean this will be good? Good evening, my name's Ruth and I run a safety and training business that supports the mining industry. And I have a limiting belief around using social media for my clients, because the clients are people like BHP, FMG, the mining guys, and I go into them and I say, well, look, I've got a LinkedIn profile, which people do stalk occasionally, but I don't actually have it. It's almost like a resume. It's pretty boring. But I've also created a profile for the business as well. So do you recommend putting the data and the sort of the content and everything underneath the business profile or my personal profile?
Both.
Both.
Different content though, right? So the personal profile is about your story.
Yeah.
The business profile is about your customer's story.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Because the customers, what I've been doing is I've got this thing called the core story where I go in there and I pile on the pain after pain, and that's exactly what you've been saying. I'm going, oh my God, I'm just like, you know, if you don't do this, you're going to go to jail. If you don't do this, someone's going to die, blah, blah, blah. It's so depressing. You know, I kind of think I need to look at now having a bit more fun with it all, you know.
Well, yeah, because you're not, they're still in the cocktail party, right?
Yeah.
So you go up to people and say, look, mate, you drink all those cocktails, you're not going to feel good in the morning, you're not going to be very popular, right?
Yeah.
But like, once you've established some friendships, you know, and you're having a one-on-one chat, you could have that conversation with them. So it's just about being social. Like, what would you do if you were in a cocktail party? Would you, like, and this is the thing, right? People walk, would you walk up to somebody and say, hi, I'm a hairdresser, this is where my hairdressing shop is, if you want to come down, I'll give you 30% off. Like, you would never, like...
No. True that.
You know, so like they're all on LinkedIn, but you've got to be proactive. They're not just going to see your content from out of nowhere. So you be reaching out and connecting with them is the first step.
Yeah.
Because on Instagram, you can't choose who follows you. You just put up content and whoever follows you, follows you. On LinkedIn, you can choose who you connect with, and they're the people that see your content. It's the biggest reason why it's so powerful. But most people have no control over who's in their network. If you decide who's in your network, you say, okay, I want a CEO of Westpac, I want the Rio Tinto CEO, and I want a CEO too, because he might influence the decision. You've just decided who's in your audience, who's seeing your content, and then you add value in a way that's specific to them, and you get those exposures. It's a natural consequence that they'll want to do business with you.
And a great exposure here in Perth is the CEO of Sleep Out, which I do every year too, so I'll see you there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Well done, good on you.
So we'll see you there. But no, thanks, Matt, that's great.
Awesome, we'll do an interview. All right, we've got time for one more question. Who's the lucky contender? There we go.
Hello. No, I'm good with that. Okay, so just wanted to understand around the content calendar. I own a couple of telecommunications companies that I'm posting content on LinkedIn, and I've tried to make it's all about education. There's no sales, there's no hook, there's no nothing. But it's what you were saying, right? I don't plan out a content calendar, so each day I might post 2 or 3 things, but it's whatever I've come up with on the day. I do try not to make it about myself, but some of it inevitably is. So when you're looking at content calendars, do you actually sit there for like one day and record a week's worth of videos or a fortnight's worth of videos, or how do you do it?
So we do 4 months worth of content in 1 hour.
That's wicked.
We record it in 1 hour. I mean, because we edit it and stuff. But literally, we sit down, like with a client,
Yep.
we sit down and we've got a series of questions we ask them, and every question's a video. It's pretty straightforward. And it's the most effective way to portray their brand. Because like most companies don't know what they're doing. They just share like stuff online. They curate stuff. They've got these Google alerts telling them what's going on in the industry. And it's not actually sharing any of their story. Whereas we can ask these questions about like, well, why do you do what you do? What made you start your business? What's the biggest challenge you've had in your business? What makes you different than another business? All these questions which actually add value, people are interested in. And then we write the caption in a way that communicates with people's worldview. And it's extremely effective. So the way you're doing it, like it might seem like it's saving you time, but in the long run, you'd be spending way more time doing it. Because once the content's created, it takes 5 seconds to post. Doesn't take. I post 5 times a day. I've looked through my past content performance because it just keeps increasing. And some days I'm posting 15 times a day. I didn't even realise I was posting that much. But it just does not take me any time. Like I do it while I'm in an Uber. Every time I'm in an Uber, I post a piece of content because they're all on my phone, just ready to go. So it doesn't actually take that much time. People think, oh, I run a business, I don't have time to post 5 times a day. It's just about planning and being strategic